decorative rivets right now.
Okay.
Honestly, just for fun.
For fun.
Do what I feel like doing right now. I've got a couple projects that are technically more important, but they're all at the stage where the motivation is gone a little bit.
Okay.
So this shop at the time was really a repair center. They weren't designed to make tools from scratch.
Oh, okay.
So doing all the finishing work on a tool like a knife, the grinding and the polishing, and here goes quite slowly. I don't have the tools for it. But I've got this that needs a lot of grinding and polishing to do, and I'll come back to it one day when I'm feeling more energized.
Right.
I've got a garden trowel that's all but done except for the wooden handle. I'll come back to this eventually. I also need to make handles for this big saw. I finished attaching these parts yesterday.
Wow.
I just need to do the wood carving for the bit here.
That's
I'm gonna hammer for a while. It's more fun.
So how historically accurate are all your tools?
As accurate as they can be.
Like as far as your tools go?
Yeah, yeah. So we actually have a lot of records of what types of tools the shop had back then. People are writing those things down, even in the 1700s.
Right.
Of course, thanks for coming through. So everything you see in here is based on those inventories that we have.
Okay.
This is a print off of the returns of the engineer stores at Michilimacinac in 1779. And right at the top, you can see the blacksmithing tools.
Really?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of people here making a lot of money, and so people are keeping track. They're keeping inventories and receipts. They're writing things like this out, and a lot of them have survived. So it's a pretty good, excellent resource for us as historians.
Oh yeah.
Wow, yeah.
So
agree.
the only thing I've gotten here that they probably didn't have is this grindstone.
Oh, okay.
Not to say that grindstones didn't exist, but it just doesn't show up on any of the inventories.
Right,
For
right,
a tool
right.
this large, if they had it, they would have written it down.
Right.
I don't use it that often anyway, but it's chilling there.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah. Most of what the shop did was fix guns. That's like the most important tool that this community was breaking.
Right.
There's 70-some soldiers stationed here. The Ottawa and the Ojibwa people are fighting alongside the British, and as allies, they're getting their guns fixed in shops like this too. Even though there are way more civilians than there are soldiers, the little pieces inside the guns just break pretty often compared to something like a door hinge or an axe head. Guns have got little gears and springs and screws, and they wear out. The shop did a lot of that. I'll fix maybe 2 or 3 guns a year now. We fire them for demonstrations. They still wear out. It's no longer my bread and butter.
Right.
Just wood in the fire, or are you using wood and coal?
Just the charcoal, so kind of middle
Charcoal,
ground.
right.
Wood that's already been a little bit burnt for us.
Right, exactly.
Is that the big thing you're pumping right there? What is that called?
That's called a bellows.
Yeah.
Yep. That's blowing through a pipe up into the fire from underneath. That's what makes this charcoal hot enough to do the job. Without that, this is barbecue temperature,
Right.
which is pretty hot, but not really hot enough for blacksmithing.
Right.
All that's doing is pushing air into the fire.
Yep.
I can see the flames getting bigger and whatnot,
Yeah.
because you have to have it at a certain temperature to be able to forge it.
Yep.
So depending on what exactly I'm trying to do, the temperature range for blacksmithing is somewhere between 1,500 degrees and about 2,200. That's an estimate, but things like welding, chain links together, for example, is up towards the top end of that, maybe 2,200. Basic heat treatment operations, hardening a steel, that happens around 1,400 to 1,500.
You quenching water or quenching oil?
Both, depending on the tool we're trying to make.
Okay.
They're using animal fats as their source for oils back then.
Okay.
So I'll use oil when I'm making tools like gun springs, cutting tools like chisels and knives. I use oil. The punches that I use for making holes in tools, I'll harden those in oil. It's a good safe bet considering I work with a lot of scrap material. I can never really be sure what kind of alloys I'm working with.
Right.
So oil is a little bit more gentle. There are a handful of tools that I make in here that need to be very, very hard in order to do their job though. The strike face on what we now call a frizzen on the gun, and tools like strike-a-lights for starting fires. I'll quench those in water. How are you folks doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Interesting.